check this, check that, check this, check that. My question is, do I or should you take your bike to a dealership for a basic service? Let's go, mate. Is it worth getting a dealership to do a basic service on your motorcycle? And in particular, I'm talking about Harley Davidson, because that's the brand of the bike I ride. I'm not trying to create a dealer bashing argument, because dealerships do have their place. The particular service that my bike is due, it's just basic shit. Check this, check that, check this, check that. And it's even only the engine oil they're going to change. They're not going to change the primary oil or the transmission oil. It's just the engine oil. Now, my particular dealership wants $445 to carry out such a service. Now, at some stage, this particular bike's going to need a service that requires a lot more mechanical knowledge, that may need, I don't know, other things done that I can't do. But my question is, do I or should you take your bike to a dealership? Should you take your bike to a dealership for a basic service? Now, I'm no mechanic, but I'm quite capable of changing engine oil, primary oil, transmission oil, changing the oil filter, cleaning the air filter. I'm quite capable of doing all that. Well, let's outline, as per the manual, what Harley Davidson wants done with this particular 8,000 kilometre service, 5,000 mile service. With this service, there's 11 check items. I'll run through them quickly. The first one, check the operation of the electrical equipment and switches. Number 2, check the front and rear tyre pressures and inspect the tread. Number 3, inspect the air cleaner and service as required. Number 4, replace the engine oil and the engine oil filter. Number 5, inspect the brake fluid sight glasses and brake system for leaks. Check the brake discs and pads for wear. Number 6, inspect and lubricate the jiffy stand. Number 7, check the clutch adjustment. Number 8, check, adjust and lubricate the brake and clutch control levers, the handlebar levers. Number 9, inspect the belt drive and sprockets, adjust the belt if necessary. Number 10, check your exhaust for leaks, cracks, or loose nuts and bolts. Number 11, take the bike for a test ride. I just want to show you a couple of products and equipment I bought to carry out the service and how much they cost. So I bought 3 quarts of oil, an oil filter, some grease, some lubricant, my oil filter wrench, some air filter cleaner, some air filter oil, drive belt tension gauge, oil funnel, and an oil pan. All that came to a cost of $220. Next time I carry out a basic service, push all this aside. I'm not going to need to buy those particular products. I'm only going to need to buy those ones. And those ones cost me $80. So this is what I'm saying. Weighing up the cost of a basic service, $445 to get them to do it, or $80 if you've already got all that stuff there. $80 for the oil and an oil filter. Now, like I said, I don't claim to be a mechanic or a mechanical expert, but I'm just someone who's prepared to have a crack. You know, obviously if you're too scared to do this sort of stuff, leave it to the professionals. But I know what I'm going to do. Anyway, let's begin the service on this beast. First thing I'm going to do is check all the switches, check the lights, make sure that there's no blown globes, Make sure everything's working. The horn, rear lights, brake lights, make sure everything works. Number plate light. Now I'm checking the tyre pressures, inspecting the rims, make sure there's no cracks. Check the tyres, check for the tread depth. Now what you see me doing here is I'm going to take the air filter off and I'm going to give it a clean. I'll use some K&Air air filter cleaner. I'll give it a good spray, make sure it's nice and saturated. Let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then I will rinse it out from the inside out. You can see there's a bit of dirt that's come out of it there. There's a few bugs that came out of it. Once I've rinsed it and washed it and so forth, I'll leave it to sit till it thoroughly dries. Then I'll get some K&N air filter oil and spray that on, which is pretty straightforward. Reinstall the air filter. Okay, it's a drain plug, a sump plug. Just crack it loose. Okay. Yep, that's nice and loose. Bingo. What I'll do now is I'll take the dipstick out, which should help the oil drain faster, hopefully. It's draining a lot quicker now. That O-ring appears to be in fairly good shape, but I've got a new one, and for the sake of $1 or whatever it is, probably not even $1, I'll just change it over. New O-ring is on. Just gonna torque wrench it. That's it. Now it's time to take the oil filter off and change the oil filter. So what I've done is I've cut a plastic drink bottle to try and catch any oil that spills when I take the oil filter off. Come on. Okay. I caught a little bit of oil. New oil filter. Just put a little bit of lube and the seal. That's where it's got to go, onto there. Just hang tight. That should be good. Now it's time to top her up. Some people will put some oil in the oil filter before they screw it on. Synthetic 3. So I put the 2 quarts in. I started up the bike, which obviously gets the oil pumping through the oil filter. Switch the bike off, I've checked the oil, and now I'm just going to top up to get it to its correct fill level. So the other lubricants that you check are your transmission lubricant, which is right there. There's a hex head. You unscrew that, take this cover off, unscrew that, and you take this derby cover off and check the level of the fluid, which these I've checked, they're all fine. They're all fine, there's no issues there. Now I'm checking the brakes, check reservoir sight glasses, check the brake pads, check the discs. Mine are all okay. I've got plenty of meat left on my brake pads. Check the fuel line, the brake lines. Now what you see me doing here is greasing the jiffy stand. Pretty straightforward sort of a job. Now I've got some spray lubricant and I'm lubricating my brake lever and clutch lever pivot points. again, it's a fairly straightforward sort of a job. Finally, I'm checking the tension of my drive belt. This is a little tool which is fairly straightforward to use. Now, the reason I've got the split screen here showing me doing the same thing on both screens is because, believe it or not, the instructions that came with the belt tension gauge, which were these instructions, stated that the belt tension had to be checked with the bike upright, not on its jiffy stand, and with a rider sitting on the seat. That's how the instructions want you to check the belt tension. And this is a Harley product. You can see up the top there, Harley Davidson, it's a Harley product. However, when I checked the instructions in the dyno manual, it stated that the bike had to be on its jiffy stand with no one on the bike at all. And if you've got saddlebags, make sure they're empty. So just as a little experiment. So on that side, I have a rider sitting on the bike to check the tension with the bike upright. And of course, on that side there, the bike's on its jiffy stand with no one on it. So, and the readings, as you can see, they're very, very similar. So, you know, next time I do this, I'll just leave the bike on its jiffy stand and check it that way. Let's get back to it. I'll put a link in the description to a video that explains exactly how to use that. Now you see me checking all the fasteners and bolts on the exhaust system. Check the exhaust system for cracks, leaks. Everything seems to be pretty good. Loud enough. So I'm just out on a test ride to make sure everything's okay and everything is fine. You know, part of the checklist was to, you know, check clutch and all that sort of shit. I mean, I ride this bike every day. Clutch is fine. It's not slipping. It engages right in the middle where I want it to engage. Clutch is fine. I'll trust my judgment on that. One thing I do have to check in terms of on their checklist, and I wonder whether the dealership will have done this, because you know they've got on there check all the electrics to make sure that they work. Basically, they don't word it that way, but that's pretty much what they're saying. It's check to make sure everything works, lights, this, that, and the other. Obviously, on this particular bike, it comes with factory cruise control. Now, I wonder whether they actually go out there, take it for a ride, and check the cruise control, see if it works. But anyway, I am. Anyway, to check the cruise control, pretty much, that's the cruise control button right there. Press it in, and press it down to set. So I'll press it down, it'll set the speed. So I'll press it down, bang, and away we go. I can accelerate, no dramas, and it'll back off back to the set speed. But the moment I touch the brake, it'll deactivate. So I've just touched the brakes now, that green light should go yellow. Bang, worked. U-turn permitted, yeah, why not? Why not? So as I said earlier, I got nothing against dealers, and like I said, it's not a dealer bashing. This is not a dealer bashing episode. It's just to show that if you want to perform a basic service, I reckon it's completely doable. There is one thing I need to check. There is one thing I need to check, and that is the alarm. I think I've only ever triggered this alarm off once, and that was purely by mistake, and I've never checked it again since. So what I'll do is I'm not sure the exact distance the remote has to be active to the bike, so I'll just leave that there, and now I'll see what happens. Gonna go off? Yep. Works. It works. Now how close do I have to be? Well, okay, yep. Well, the alarm works. Let's get out of here. Anyway guys, hit us up in the comments, let us know whether you think performing a basic service on your motorcycle's the way to go, or whether you think it's unsafe. I don't think it's unsafe. Let me know if there's selected services that you take your bike to a mechanic or to a dealership, or do you just do everything? Do you not take your bike to a workshop other than your own at all? I've got a couple of mates that do that. For them to take their bikes to a mechanic, the problem has to be fairly serious. Anyway guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.